welcome back to the Monsters, Myths, and Mayhem podcast. I about messed up the name there for some weird reason. I about said mattress instead of mayhem.
Mattress. We're sleeping.
Sleep sounds good right about now.
Kinda.
But it's monster time.
And myths and mayhem and possible mattresses.
This would be a good way to segue if we had a sponsor for like Casper or some sort of sleep mattress company. We are going to be doing the monster or magical phenomenon. Mainly a monster, maybe? The will-o'-the-wisp.
Yes.
Do you know much about the will-o'-the-wisp?
I know a little.
Well, I'll let you go first, like usual, to see what you know, see what we can kind of match up.
Did we ever decide which one we were doing, or are we doing both?
Of which?
You trying to talk about all of it? Like the Japanese, the Scottish?
I was kind of just going to do a little bit of everything, because it's all pretty much the same.
Okay.
But it's different names. There's the ghost lights from the U.S.,
Right.
Louisiana, Midman lights from Australia, the wisps, Ignis Fatuus.
Yes. Rise Up Lights.
Yeah, but they go by many names.
Do what?
Which name did you kind of have ready? Or which ones did you want to do?
The one that I looked at most was like the demonology side of it, just because of the darker side of it is
Okay, I
interesting
don't think
to
I
me.
looked at any of that.
Well, it's more like I believe the British side of it that believes more so that it was like it was used for jinn to like mislead travelers and like get them lost. I think in that it was the foolish fire.
Yeah, that's Ignis Fatuus means the foolish, silly, foolish
Yes.
fire. Yes. Giddy flame.
And that was the version that the will-o'-wisps actually led them into like danger, like mortal danger, like death. So yeah, I more so looked on that side of things. I mean, it's an easy, if you take something like Brave, for instance, like a pop culture version of it, those led her to her destiny, her fate. So more or less, I think in most of the stories, they're a form of direction, like they lead you somewhere or show you something.
That is correct. They're guides, but not usually good guides. Usually they're to lead you to your death or danger. And looking at them, it's just a ball of fire floating in the air. Whether it's white, green, blue, red, they come in many colors, I've noticed. Even the will-o'-the-wisps.
Yes.
And I also didn't know at first, for a long time, I always called them will-o'-wisps. It's will-o'-the-wisp. They kind of resemble flickering lanterns, flickering lights. Some of the will-o'-wisps are said to be either fairies or ghosts. Sometimes they're witches. In the case of Mexico, witches turn into will-o'-the-wisps and guide people into the woods and the marshes. They also can be goblins, which are also kind of a type of fairy. The goblin will carry the lantern and kind of lure you in, and while the goblin's invisible. I believe in Japan, the will-o'-the-wisp, I forget its name, but it's the soul of a person is seen as a ball of fire. Yeah, it is a worldwide phenomenon, usually spotted in marshes, swamps, bogs, and the like high watery wetlands area. where it said to guide travelers off the path or to get stuck, hit, because bogs are like, they seem solid, but they could be like a 6-foot hole you could step into and just drown because it's so
Mhm.
dense. The water's denser than or the with the water. There's not a lot of buoyancy in the bog water from what I've seen, so you don't really float. You just sink.
The bringing up leading people into the marsh and the bog and stuff actually reminds me of the story that I read about, I think it was St. Peter and a
Oh yeah, yep.
blacksmith. And the blacksmith met him in like the gates, and St. Peter was like, "I'll give you a second chance," and like he was threatened to like roam Earth, and then the devil gave him a single coal to like do something to like keep himself warm or to use fire or whatever, and he would use that as like a glowing light to lead travelers in.
Yeah, that was one of my stories I had. Is the guy's name was actually Will, which is where the name Willow the Wisp came from. Blacksmith Will shoed St. Peter's horse, and he uh, decided that, hey, since you shooting my horse, I'll give you 3 wishes. And Will wanted another lifetime, his hearth to never go cold, and his flask to never run empty. So he got those things, and he's like, oh shoot, that was St. Peter's. He said, I better be a better person this lifetime around. So he used his second lifetime to be good. His hearth was never cold, so he had no use for the peat that they used from the bogs to heat their house. So he collected peat for other people and did blacksmith work for cheap, as well as other good deeds. And when his time finally came, he was walking through this bog, and he seen a path that he never noticed before. So he went down this path, and it led him to the gates where he found St. Peter's again. And like you said, St. Peter's like, hey, you did good this time. You did good this lifetime. But since you were so terrible in your last lifetime, we still cannot let you in.
Right, imagine.
He's like, oh, St. Peter sent him away. And so he kept walking through. He finally found a blue light, and followed it. It led him to this like hedged, viney oval shaped portal. He looked around it. It looked different through the side, so he tried to go through the portal. But every time he go through, he just ended up on the other side, which wasn't in the portal. He did that like 3 or 4 times, and death finally showed up. And it's like, hey, quit doing that. It rings the doorbell. Pretty much. And it's like, here, have this coal.
Quit knocking on my door.
Away. We can't let you in because you were too good in this lifetime.
Poor man belongs nowhere.
Yeah, like, yep, sorry, you can't get into either heaven or hell because you're too good that time and too bad the first time.
The forever punishment of a gray Jedi.
Oh yeah, that was one story I had in my list. There was the second story I have was a story of Stingy Jack. Have you heard that one?
I skimmed it. I didn't linger on it,
Okay.
but I have skimmed it.
It's pretty short story. So this Irish gentleman named Jack, everybody called him Stingy Jack or Drunk Jack. Stingy Jack ends up finding the devil outside this bar, and somehow he managed to get the devil to climb a tree. So when the devil climbed up the tree, Jack drew 3 crucifixes on the tree, which trapped the devil in the tree. In order to come back out of the tree, Jack's like, yeah, I'll let you back down if you grant my wish. The devil finally agreed, yeah, I'll grant your wish. What's your wish? And Stingy Jack's like, yeah, pay off my beer tab, and I'll let you down. So the devil pays off his tab, and he comes down from the tree and grants the wish. Then when Stingy Jack dies, he's too bad to go to heaven. And the devil's like, hey, yeah, you can't come in here either. Here's a coal. You guys gotta wander around the swamp for eternity. So Stingy Jack took this coal and put it in a turnip to carry around. So he had to carry those around forever, which is where jack-o'-lanterns came from. Because will-o'-the-wisp and jack-o'-lanterns are related.
Yes, I did know that. Jacko the Lantern.
Ooh, yeah, that sounds better. Will-o'-the-wisp. Oh,
Yeah,
O'Reilly's.
it has it like listed. Oh my god, imagine. It has it listed when you look up Willow the Wisp. It gives you like all the different names up for it, of course, and then in parentheses at the bottom there's a Jacko the Lantern.
There's really not much difference in the will-o'-the-wisp as a monster. It really doesn't have much of an identity besides being a ghost or a spirit. They don't really seem. They always just lure you in. Oh, will-o'-the-wisps also can be used to find treasure. They are said to have. If you see one out in the marsh in the right time of the moon, you can follow one and they'll lead you to buried treasure out in the swamps. Which is what happened in the beginning of the book Dracula.
Oh.
Because Dracula mentions that the carriage driver that drove him to Dracula's castle, he stopped and just started walking out into the marsh. And then when the guy asked Dracula what the carriage driver was doing or why he did that, Dracula explained that he was following the will-o'-the-wisp out to a buried treasure.
Interesting.
I believe will-o'-the-wisps are slowly beginning to become extinct because everybody's taking all the marsh and swampland and just kind of developing it, which makes sightings less and less.
Do we have like a most recent sighting?
I do not. I believe the most recent sighting that I could think of was in Australia with the Min lights, because it said that you can still kind of see them out in the outback out there. They even got tourism and stuff surrounding these lights. There's also currently still lights over in certain mountains in the US, but there's a lot of debate whether those are actually the lights from like will-o'-the-wisps and ghost lights, or if they are like car reflections. Or will-o'-the-wisp are highly controversial nowadays because a lot of people are trying to debunk them as either the most common, like anything, is swamp gases igniting. Swamp gases are, they say that they're like swamp gases combusting. Doesn't really explain their constant, from the stories in the past, the constant fire leading people. Unless it's somebody from the future that has just like a black morph suit and just carrying around the blue. And there are things that the will-o'-the-wisps could be is some sort of glowing bugs or an owl with phosphorescent lights or phosphorescent. Yeah,
so many
owls
excuses.
That touched mushrooms that glow and had glowing stuff on it themselves. Because some mushrooms glow in the swamps. Or a ball lightning. Which ball lightning I got into like a rabbit hole. Have you ever heard of ball lightning?
Yes, actually. There's a lot of theories around lightning. Lightning's like a huge, and like in school we learned that it's like, you know, the heat and it's supposed to actually like come from the ground and stuff like that. But there's like a huge theory that lightning is like its own entity. I don't know if you've seen any of that.
I have not.
Crazy. I'll have to show you sometime.
I found the story with ball lightning. Ball lightning being like once lightning strikes, little balls of lightning just kind of fly around in the sky afterwards, leaving trails.
Yes.
This was a story from 1638. During a violent storm, all the locals kind of gathered in this church to take shelter when two orbs of ball lightning crashed through the church window, and one of them split. And they were about 8 foot tall, 8 foot diameter, spherical, 8 foot spherical, which is diameter, right? Radius. I'm gonna go if they're 8 foot in diameter. Yeah, they split into two. One of them hit the church floor, and the other one shot off through another window. And it pretty much exploded the church and caught it on fire. The parishioners tried to flee the church, only to be hindered by thick smoke and a noxious sulfur odor. 4 people died, and more than 50 people got injured. The villagers concluded that God sent the ball lightning to punish 2 fellowships who played cards during the sermon. Imagine just because you played cards during a sermon, they'd smite you with lightning balls.
I mean, that's kind of a big deal.
I've heard church stories. There's a lot more that goes on.
I mean, yes.
It was kind of weird that they experienced that. I'm not sure if they would have kind of exaggerated in their story. I just found it kind of neat. Maybe that we can mix that in with some of the mayhem. Will-o'-the-wisps crashing down, exploding things.
Yeah, just boom.
And ball lightning could also be seen in different colors, such as blue, yellow, orange, and red, and white. So it kind of matches the will-o'-the-wisps.
I mean, it's all technically fire.
It is true. Look at Avatar: Last Airbender. They can make lightning, so that's fire.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'd rather carry a lightning ball around than a fireball. I guess as for the media, we kind of talked about Brave already, right? You can see Will-o'-the-Wisps in Brave. I believe they're also in Ancient Magus Bride. There's a Will-o'-the-Wisp there.
Yes.
Do you know any other places they're at?
There's one in Animal Crossings. His name is Wisp. Isn't it Wisp? There's one in Pokemon. The one in Animal Crossing's name is Wisp, and he comes on your island after a certain time when it's dark outside. And he's very timid and scared, and you can talk to him, and he explodes into little.
That's right. I forgot about him. Shows you how much I play Animal Crossing. Yeah, there is some in Pokemon. The Legends of Arceus, you collect the Will-o'-the-Wisps for a guy. And you also, there's a Pokemon move called Will-o'-wisps. I'm pretty sure they're in Digimon as well, because Digimon has a lot of different random things. And they probably don't go by the same name. Shall we go on with the mayhem then?
Full send.
With mayhem, I think they'd be low. Unless you're very foolish nowadays. If you knew what the will-o'-wisps were and you decided just to go off and start chasing one, you better watch your footsteps very carefully.
Oh?
Because I think they just start leading you. Well, we're running out of marshes and bogs too nowadays, so it'd be kind of harder to find them.
True.
But if they decided to leave those areas, maybe start invading gas lines, then they could get kind of mayhemy, just kind of lighting things on fire everywhere. I don't know if you could extinguish them with water. I imagine somebody's probably tried. Unless it's just a ball of lightning you just hit with water, that might be a bad thing. Might be a high enough current to zap you as well. She looks like she's concentrating on something.
Nope, I'm just listening and reading at the same time. I'm reading more about the wisp and stuff. Just researching. I was looking for, I guess more modern possible stories, I guess. Kind of just trying to figure out. Because, kind of like you said, we're running out of marshes and bogs, stuff like that. What is the chance that we would actually have to worry about these guys? I mean, unless you live somewhere deep, in swamp and marsh, in Louisiana, maybe even some areas of, the Carolinas, stuff like that. There's just not...
They've seen them in mountains, too, already. There's been some sightings in Greenland, in the snow. There's one of the podcasts I was listening to. A guy, a cryptid or a mythology hunter, and he's seen the lights in Greenland, but they were said to be fairies there, not really ghosts.
So say that there is like a modern day instance where like one of us runs across a will-o-wisp. Would you be apt to follow?
I don't think I would be. Since at 90% of the time they'd probably be danger, but there's still that 10% of the chance that you could end up with a bunch of gold.
Right. Like, is it worth the gold? And you know what? I'll tell you, in modern day society, with all of the price gouging and stuff going on right now, it very well could lead a couple people astray. I'm not as, I mean, it's funny, but like, it's the truth.
Yeah, it depends on the situation. If I'm in a bog, probably no, because I can't swim. But if it's in the mountains or Greenland, like ice, yes, I might follow it if I have. Also, there was just one that could just eat your soul. Once you find the treasure, it'll just eat your soul. But that was just a one-off thing I seen.
Yeah.
Only if
That's
you're
like
a children's soul.
It's a one-off thing because there's probably only one survivor. Ever.
Yeah. Only one will live. Oh yeah, I just also remembered that it could be a soul of an unbaptized child. And it leads you to water so you could baptize it and it can go away.
Oh. Wow.
Which I'm going to guess that was a kind of like the Rusalka part. During our Rusalka episode, we kind of talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
Probably a heavy influence of Christianity coming in and trying to take over local myths.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which happened to a lot of places. I still think it won't be as mischievous nowadays. What do you think?
I just feel like in the end, they could be game changing, but they would have to modern shift. There would have to be something different. There just would have to be. I mean, unless there's like a whole group of kids tripping acid in the woods somewhere and they see these lights, I don't see anybody just being like, wow.
Wow, so many
Wow.
lights. Let's just go after them. Like a cat with a laser pointer. Anyways, that's all I have really for the will-o-wisps. Willow the wisps. Jacko the lanterns. Min lights. Did you happen to come across anything extra on your research there?
Not really. But you're gonna laugh kind of what I've been looking up. I've been kind of looking up the relation because we were talking about like the Jacko the Lantern and like the Willow the Wisp and stuff. I was just trying to connect it and Sleepy Hollow because it seems like a really neat combination. And I haven't found anything specifically yet, but like per se, it's a little inspiring. It'd be really cool if there was like a book that was like Willow the Wisp demonic intake with the Sleepy Hollow connection. Like I just thought that was cool.
That would be. So is man, I just forgot his name now. He's associated with Sleepy Hollow.
Ichabod Crane?
Yes, but his other form.
The Headless Horseman?
Headless Horseman, yes. Is he technically two souls then? Because yeah,
I don't.
The jack-o'-lantern and the headless body, are they just two separate entities put together?
I don't know, because then you'd have to debate, like, is the Willow the Wisp the body?
Or is he the fire? I don't know. That's
Right.
Did he just steal somebody's body and he still has to carry the head, which is
because it's Ichabod. I mean, he is Ichabod. So
yeah.
And the mention of children and stuff with the Willow the Wisp and stuff like that. Like there's a lot of, depending on what version of Sleepy Hollow you're reading, a lot of time it's like a nightmare situation. It was just an interesting tie because when I saw Jacko the Lantern, I automatically almost always go to like Sleepy Hollow. So I was just like, that'd be an interesting tie. And then if that was a situation where something like that could happen, there's so much more mayhem that could happen.
The will-o-wisp can take over bodies. Yes,
Like once a year on like All Hallows Eve, Will-o'-the-Wisp comes out and just creates a headless horseman. Like it would be just to stay relevant, to stay modernized, to give that horror story, like folklore, creepy vibe. I mean, I think that's neat. And not to change, not that the story of the Will-o'-the-Wisp isn't like crazy cool anyways, but because I always like considered them, I guess, as like good spirits, to find out that it's really more of like a darker sensation, to tie it with that would just be
dun 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 dot dot dot. It'd be cool. It is cool. I can't think of any other myths or cryptid or stories that involve something similar, but yeah, that'd be creating your own headless horseman once every year. Would definitely cause a chaos in a lot of towns, especially with the number of sightings. I guess I'll do the outro if you don't have anything else or any more rabbit holes to go out.
I don't think so. I just know I'm going to find something cool on this when we end this. I just know it. I know that's how that's going to work.
Okay, we'll do our Patreon shoutouts real quickly. We got Mondi, Ruby Hummingbird, and Thor. Like always, if you're looking to join the Patreon for a shout out, it's a second tier and third tier reward. Third tier, you're also shouted out on Chaotic Stream. First tier gives you a special Discord role. Link is in the description below. A little announcement for this next coming episode after this one will be at MatsuriCon Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of the 12th, 13th, and 14th.
No, that is correct.
We might see you there if anybody that listens goes, but we won't be able to record, so it'll be another week skipped. Any announcements for you, Chaotic? Your tournament?
It's not next week. When this next, not this episode, but when next episode comes out, that following week, we will be doing our tournament on the 21st. It'll be a charity tournament for DBD. It's a 1v1 tourney. It's a very community, close-knit, funny, ease of gameplay so that we can raise money and enjoy ourselves. But it will be an all-day thing. It's like 1 p.m. EST to probably like 9 p.m. EST. It'll be a lot of fun. So I think it'll be something that even if you don't watch DVD would be an enjoyment to watch if anybody would like to stop in or say hello. And other than that, I don't think there's any huge announcements other than MatsuriCon. I'm just super excited. And we'll have, if you are part of the Discord, there will be plenty of pictures, I'm sure, of cosplays. So.
And we are slowly getting the podcast episodes up on YouTube.
Yes.
Roll the outro, Chaotic.
Good golly, great balls of fire. Okay, hang on. Join us again next Monday on Monsters, Myths, and Mayhem, found on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Anchor.fm. Silver and Chaotic talk about how monsters and myths came to be and how they would be received in modern-day society. Follow, like, and subscribe to support. Also find the podcast on Twitter and Discord with the links below to keep up to date with the newest merchant activity. Besides, who knows what mayhem we will get into next.